pictures and patterns poured into words that stream across the page, capturing life as soft spoken.
Hi everybody, Jane here, and today we're going to be talking about the book Double Indemnity by James M Cain. This is one of the books I am reading from the 8 Perfect Murders. So if you have not seen this playlist and don't know, I read 8 Perfect Murders about 6 months ago, and in the book there is a blog that talks about 8 perfect murders, and that's important to the story, but I wanted to read the books that were listed in the blog as being, quote, perfect murders. So that is what this video is going to be about, my adventure with this book, Double Indemnity, one of the books listed in the 8 perfect murders. This blog or this review will definitely have spoilers. So if you do not want spoilers for Double Indemnity, click off now. I will tell you, if you've read 8 Perfect Murders, you probably know a lot of the spoilery stuff, but not all of it. So this is spoilers beyond what's in the 8 Perfect Murders book, but I feel like this is a fairly short book, and there's just not a lot of content to it. So we're going to talk about like the whole book, and I have to do that in a spoilery way, unfortunately, for it to work. Before we do this, however, I do want to say welcome to my channel if you're new, and if you are new, please like and subscribe. Also, I would like to remind everybody that I am an author, and I would like to tell you a little about an anthology I was in recently. This is called The Wishing Box, Be Careful What You Wish For, and it is by the Fairfield County Creative Writers Co-op. It is available on Amazon, and I encourage you to check it out. This book is a collection of short stories that is kind of a play on the old Monkey Paw story. So if you have ever read the Monkey Paw, or if you haven't, it is about wishes gone bad. In our collection, there is a gentleman who owns an antique store, and he has a wishing box. This box grants wishes, except not how you'd want it to in most cases. And it goes through different people getting the box, making a wish, and having different and interesting results from that wish. My particular wish, I have a girl who is an artist, who wishes to be famous, a famous artist, and also her sister who has this wishing box, who wishes for love. And both of those wishes go terribly awry. So if this book sounds interesting to you, please go on Amazon, read the first 10% of it, and see if it's something you would like to buy. The money made from this does not go to me. It does go to our Creative Writers Co-op and helps us fund different projects, different speakers and things like that for our writers. Right now, our big focus is becoming a nonprofit so that we have different things in our setup. So we're really trying to sell copies of this book, and it is a fun book. I think you'll really enjoy it. All right, now back to what you came here for. Double Indemnity. All right, guys. I can't even summarize this book, so we're just going to go through the whole thing, because I think that's the only way I can really tell you what it's about. If you've read 8 Perfect Murders, this is the one where they talk about like the guy on the train who they bring somebody in who looks like somebody, and then they find the body, and the assumption is that this person died on the train and it was an accident or suicide. And so that, if you've read 8 Perfect Murders, that is which one this book is. This book was a ride, guys. I'm not sure exactly. It's got to be old. Okay, it was written in 1936, and it definitely feels like that. And I am not a huge fan of classic literature, so that's probably one of the reasons that I somewhat struggled with this book. I didn't particularly enjoy it. My ultimate rating for it is going to be a 3 out of 5 because I don't think it is doing anything wrong, particularly being a classic horror piece or thriller piece. But I also did not personally enjoy it, and it took me a stupidly long time to get through, despite its very small size. So in this book, the main character, Mr. Huff, Walter Huff, I had to look because I couldn't remember his name. And some of these details are fuzzy because it's been about a month since I've read it, and I didn't necessarily understand some of the things as we were going through it. Mr. Huff is an insurance salesman, and this is back in the day when insurance salesmen came to your house. So he goes to this house to remind a gentleman to re-up his automobile insurance. Well, the guy's not there, but the wife is. And she kind of starts talking to him, and she says, he's thinking about getting his auto insurance through the auto club instead, which I don't really know much how that worked or what an auto club was in that context. Like when I hear auto club, I think AAA, but I don't know what it was with this. And our insurance agent says, oh, it's a good deal if you're using the other benefits of the auto club. Otherwise, you're just wasting money. And they get to talking a little bit about insurance and stuff. And the wife says, well, can I take out a policy, like a life insurance policy, on my husband without him knowing? And I don't remember exactly how the specifics get there, but they get there really quick. Where our insurance guy is like, this lady wants to off her husband. And she's kind of hot. So I'm going to help her do that, and we'll split the money and run off together because that seems like a really good idea. And as an insurance guy, I have the know-how of like what not to do so that there's no question on the claims. Because of course the concern is, depending on how the death is, it could look suspicious because the dude's getting murdered. Also, he's like, well, and we want to have the claim have double indemnity, which in this case is if the husband dies on a train or related to a train, she gets double the money. And I guess the policy, it's explained like insurance companies offer this because people really worry about the safety of riding on the railroad, but honestly, like you're not likely to die on the railroad, so the insurance companies offer it because they know that it makes customers happy, but it's not really something that they have big payouts for very often. So anyway, this insurance agent and this wife gets talking. And one thing I want to stop and say real quick is like he doesn't know this girl at all. And that's one of the first things that really bothered me in the book, because this is like, again, the first chapter or so. He's never met this girl, and I get it. The 1930s were a little different, and maybe guys weren't around women as much. Maybe you didn't have as many women in offices. I don't know, but it's not like he's never seen a woman before. But he is acting like he has never seen a woman before. Here's this woman who is like, hey, insurance dude who I've never met before, I'd like to kill my husband, please. And he's like, you're pretty hot. We should do that. So I had problems right out the bat here, okay? So, and I don't remember if he meets the victim's daughter before the murder or after. But at some point pretty close to the murder, he meets the soon-to-be victim's daughter, who he decides he also likes, and that was creepy too. But we'll get there. So he uses his insurance knowledge to trick the victim into creating an insurance policy. Everything goes to the ex-wife, or, well, the widow, not an ex-wife, the widow, and there's double indemnity involved. Then our insurance guy and the widow go and murder the husband. And the husband had injured his leg, so he had a cast. So our insurance guy goes on the train. He's wearing a cast. He's wearing like a ball cap, so you can't see him real good, to prove like this dude was on the train. Nobody done murdered him. He was just on the train and he fell off, or there was a question of if he committed suicide, but like they had to try to do some insurance-y stuff to make sure that it wasn't declared a suicide because that changes the money. So anyway, he he makes it so he is seen on this train, and then he jumps off the end of it, and they put the murdered husband's body like on the tracks. And at some point along the line, I don't remember if it is suspected that the daughter's boyfriend is the killer or if they try to frame him, but at some point, the daughter's boyfriend, the daughter of the deceased, her boyfriend is suspected of doing something to this dude. Once the insurance people are like, this is fishy, I don't I don't think this is gonna fly. And of course our insurance person is working behind the scenes at the insurance company to try to make it fly, make it less fishy, make it but not seem like he's doing anything weird. And he's also told the wife, like, we can't talk. We can't talk. We're gonna run away together. We're gonna be in love. It's gonna be great. But you also find out that it was suspected that the daughter's boyfriend was having an affair with the wife. So at some point, our insurance guy starts to suspect that the wife has double crossed him and is going to run off with the daughter's boyfriend. It's kind of convoluted. So he goes and he is talking to the daughter and falls in love with the daughter and feels really bad for the daughter about this whole situation, and doesn't want the boyfriend going to jail and hurting the daughter for things that he did. And even though he's like a lot older than the daughter, he's got like this creepy crush, but he's like, "Oh, I love her." And I didn't know what real love was. I didn't really love the wife that I just helped commit murder. I love the daughter. But now I'm in an awkward situation, and plus I'm kind of old, and she's not going to like me, and she's really not going to like me when she finds out I murdered her daddy. So I think he was trying to kind of figure out what to do, and realizes that the wife is gonna try to kill the boyfriend, maybe. I don't remember exactly how this goes, but at some point, our insurance dude steals the boyfriend's car, and I can't remember if it was to set him up or to save him. Something crazy was happening. But he gets shot as he's doing this whole thing. And he ends up in the hospital, and his insurance boss person comes in and is like, "Hey, there's fishy stuff related to these people and this insurance claim." And our insurance dude, Mr. Huff, is just like, "Yeah, dude. So I killed this guy for the wife. We did it. It's horrible. This is where we're at. The innocent boyfriend shouldn't go to jail for it. Clearly, we did this." And the boss is like, "Okay, well, we don't want the company to be hurt by your stupidity. So we are going to give you a ticket on a boat to a different country, and you're going to write this confession in a letter, and we are going to hand it over to the police and have the police investigate, and it's going to be an open investigation, and we're not going to have publicity, and certainly, this is all going to be in our past. It's not going to be bad publicity." And I think before this point, but I'm not sure if it was at this point or when he was in the hospital, that he finds out that the wife who he helped kill her husband is a serial killer. She had killed the husband's previous wife and at least a couple other people, and the boyfriend was not seducing her. He was trying to prove her guilt because she'd killed one of his family members. And so he'd gotten close to the daughter initially to get to the stepmom, but then he fell in love with the daughter, and convoluted stuff happened. So then he gets on the boat, and she's on the boat, and he's still recovering from his bullet wounds. And at the end, she's doing stuff so that a shark will trail the boat, and we get the impression that she is going to commit another murder and feed this dude to the shark, and that's how it ends. And again, this is classic literature, so I feel like that's part of my issue is classic literature was just written different, and I oftentimes don't appreciate it fully. And this was one that I just didn't appreciate. The plot was convoluted in my opinion, but again, for a classic, it was probably fine. It was very it was just very strange. The main character, Mr. Huff, he wasn't well developed in my opinion. And again, just very easily swayed by pretty girls. And I thought that was dumb. I needed some real motivation there, not just, this girl's hot. I'm gonna go kill her husband. Oh, well, his daughter's really hot. I feel bad for killing the husband. I certainly don't want the boyfriend to get in trouble and ruin this girl's life, so I'm gonna confess to murder? Like, it was a very different type story, and I didn't really enjoy it. Again, I gave it a 3 out of 5 because I think for classic literature, you have to give them a break. They were doing things in genres that we don't really do now. This was written in the 1930s and still exists. I still could find it from my library. And it was a cool murder idea. Making it seem like no murder took place and an accident happened fit well in the 8 Perfect Murders theme in the blog list. And the murder itself was kind of cool, well done, because they're setting it up to look like it was an accident off of a train. But I didn't really like the characters. The story was kind of convoluted and weird, and I didn't really understand some people's motivation, and it was very short. I wouldn't read it again, and I wouldn't necessarily tell anybody else to read it either, but it's not the worst thing I've ever read. So, like, if you like classic literature and go into this knowing it is like, it's old. It's old, and the storytelling's old, and it's not, it just isn't necessarily how I would have wanted it to be or what I hoped for. But it wasn't terrible. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever read. I did think the ending, I'd seen it done before and it's kind of a classic trope, but at this time it probably wouldn't have been a classic trope because I don't know if that, you know, I'm gonna get killed by the serial killer I was helping. I don't know if that was something that has been, like, I don't know when that started. But it definitely, because I've seen that 100 times now, that also felt kind of like, oh yes, we're doing that. So the shark was kind of a cool idea. If you're gonna die, if you're gonna be murdered by a serial killer, at least it's a shark. And like everything fell into place well. Like obviously he gets shot trying to do this and then fed to the shark. So that was cool, but just this book didn't really do it for me. Not the way I wanted it to, unfortunately. So if you have read this book, I would love your thoughts. I also apologize if I got any elements of it wrong. It has been over a month since I read this, and like I'm sure I've got a couple things out of order or slightly off, but that's how I remember this. I recently got a new computer, and so I hadn't made any YouTube videos yet because I was trying to get things set up with my new computer that I could actually record videos and edit, and I'm still not 100% sure how this is going to go, so nervous about that. But yeah, I really shouldn't have let so much time pass because there's a lot of stuff in this book that frankly, other than the craziness and the zaniness, I just don't really remember. So, leave your thoughts about that book below. If you've read other books in the 8 Perfect Murders that have not yet been put in my playlist, please let me know what you thought of them. I am trying to still read through the whole 8 Perfect Murders list of books. It's going slowly, but we'll get there eventually. All right, guys, this has been Jane. Thank you. Bye.